great irony here is that Obama has decided he's going to dedicate himself and the rest of his time in office to fighting inequality. He has created the greatest inequality because of the zero interest rates, because the Fed has put $1 trillion, which had to go into higher assets, meaning the market. It's the rich who got richer, and it's left everyone else behind. And that's why you get the mass discontent in the sense of the economy not improving. He is the cause, and now he's going to redeem us from the misery that he has contributed to.
Charles Kruathammer on Special Report last night, slamming the president's pivot to the issue on economic inequality in the U.S. At issue, also highlighted at the inauguration here in New York City. A bit earlier in the week, Bill de Blasio is the new mayor, and some of the highlights, shall we say.
Our nation has the largest prison population in the world. Much of that problem stems from issues of race, perpetuated by the depth of human indifference to poverty.
We are called to put an end to economic and social inequalities that threaten to unravel the city we love.
If it could only be nice and better. Rich Lowry, editor of National Review, and a Fox News contributor, Charles Payne, Fox Business Network anchor and co-host of Arnie Company. Gentlemen, good day to you.
Good morning.
I know you were watching with keen interest this past week. Rich, Krauthammer's point is that the president has not helped here with his policies. How would you address that?
Yeah, well, the Federal Reserve and the policy of quantitative easing has pumped up the stock market. That doesn't help just the rich, but it does help a lot of rich people. But the broader point, Bill, and this is something the president neglects when he talks about this, inequality is a trend across the decades, across all presidencies, across every developed, advanced economy. It has to do with deep trends in our world, globalization, automation. So there's no way it's going to be stopped. And when President Obama or Bill de Blasio says somehow they're going to end, social and economic inequality, it's a pipe dream, and they can only do damage by trying to do it.
Charles, what do you think of this debate?
I don't disagree. I'm not too keen on it. I think it's too simplistic to say the Fed pumped up the market, but that's a different discussion. I think it's very simplistic. I think the global economy is what pumped up the U.S. stock market. The problem we have in this country, though, is a skills gap. We're going to a knowledge-based area where if you have the knowledge, you can make a whole lot of money. We know there are millions of STEM jobs that are going begging, millions, but it's not just science, technology, engineering, and math. Welders, we need welders. Welders make so much money. We need welders. Where are the welders? We have what we're talking about are policies by the left that actually retard the growth, that actually make the ladder of success harder to climb. High taxes, high regulations actually hurt the engine of growth. And that's what hurts the bottom from climbing up. Look at any place where you have Democrats in control, really seriously in control. States like California, cities like Washington, D.C., they've got the widest income inequality gaps.
His point goes to education. And you write about that today in the New York Post.
Yeah, there are two issues that have to be separated here. One is income inequality, which you're not going to stop. The other is mobility from the bottom, which you want to do everything you can to increase. And the fact is, Bill, in this country, if you honor just certain basic norms, if you graduate from high school, if you get a full-time job, if you get married before you have kids, the chances of you being poor are basically nil. So this is still a wide-open country with opportunities there for people to grasp.
And you make the point, you argue that if you do those three things, your chances of being successful are greater, and you have less of a dependency on government in the first place.
Correct. And if you get a college degree, let's put aside just graduating from high school, which is very important. If you get a college degree and you start out in the bottom fifth of income in this country, the chances of you staying in the bottom fifth is really rare. And about 16–19% end up in the top fifth. So this is still a country where you can make the most of yourself. And we want to encourage people to do that. And just pounding on the rich and saying because Mark Zuckerberg's very rich, it hurts everyone else, that's nonsense.
This guy's been talking about that for years. As long as I've known you.
I have. I've been talking about this for years. I knew this was going to ultimately be a gigantic story. This will be the story for the next 4 years. I'm talking about a huge story, and it's not just an American story. It's a Western civilization story, and a lot is at stake right now. And remember, we're talking income. So if person A makes $1 million a year and person B makes $37,000 a year, you can tax person A all you want. You haven't changed that person's income. You have not changed the income. You got to get back to the things that Rich was talking about. And also, when you start saying, well, let's make the minimum wage higher, what we're talking about is rewarding mediocrity and so then you push back the need to do the things that Rich talked about. Hey, you know what? Don't graduate from high school. Don't get married, but we're going to pay you more money anyway. That's artificially trying to solve a problem that doesn't work.
But you know, this quantitative easing thing, I don't want to get too involved in this in the Fed, but this administration, the Fed policies, it's been really good for rich people. If you're wealthy, you made a ton of money over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
that is true.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Fed's policy was wrong. And Charles knows more about monetary policy than I do. But when unemployment is high and when inflation is low, the Fed should be loose.
And by the way, when you listen to Ben Bernanke complain, he complains about fiscal policy. That's what he's saying. He's saying what we did was right. What the president doing is hurting what we're trying to do.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Did anyone see anybody pull out a checkbook the other day at that inauguration ceremony? Did they?
I'm pretty sure the hat went around somewhere, though.
Did you see that? I mean, they were banging and banging and banging. I didn't see any money come out of their pocket.
You first.
Right on. Charles, thank you. Rich, thanks to you as well. Patty Ann, what